Hello, Aspiring Illumineers. I am back for the Intro to Lorcana series with three new lovely faces tonight. These are some ladies from our local scene, Ohana and Friends. So I'm going to go around and introduce them, and then they're going to tell us about how long they've been playing Lorcana and what their favorite card is. So we'll start with Courtney.
Hi everyone. I started playing Lorcana during set 1 when it came out. So what is that, like over a year?
Yeah.
My favorite card right now is probably Crab. It's a good
Crab's a
one.
good card.
Yeah.
Crab's a really good card. Okay, and then we have Heaven, aka Brown Turtle.
Hey. So we technically started playing Lorcana last Christmas, not this past Christmas, but 2023 Christmas, because my fiance's older brother gave us a couple of Lorcana packs, and I was like, oh, I guess we have to learn how to play. And so that's how it started, the addiction. So we started doing that, and my favorite card is the Goofy Super Goof, just because it's a rush and it like gains you 2 lore as soon as you hit somebody, as soon as you take out somebody, so like, or challenge. And I'm like, yeah.
I love that card. Everybody on the team is such a hater. I say everybody, but it's really just Luca. He like hates that card so much, and I'm like, it's so good.
It's so good.
And then we have Ash. Just
Hey.
Ash.
I've been playing Lorcana since it came out, and this is my first card game. My husband gave up all of his other card games to play this one with me.
Yeah.
And my favorite card is Mufasa, the one that lets you like restand all your ink.
That's
Yeah.
also a good card.
Yeah.
Wait, I guess you guys all said what your favorite card was. Now I have to do it. Do I have a favorite card? Okay, I lied. I do have a favorite card. My favorite card is Noi. Orphan Thief, mostly because she's Filipino and I'm Filipino, and that's what I looked like when I was a baby. And it's really
Aw.
cute. That's not actually what I looked like when I was a baby, but that's what I like to think. So today on our Intro to Lorcana series, we are going to be going over basic game mechanics. A lot of this is going to go over the abilities on the cards. So examples, evasive, ward, reckless, rush. We're going to kind of dive a little bit more into detail with those things. And then we're going to go over a lot of things that are still pretty basic, but a lot of people wanted a little bit more, I guess, information on, explanation, clarification, such as readying and exerting. If your ink is dry, if your ink is wet, how do you kind of tell the difference, I guess? And then discard and banish, what the difference is there. And the big one is shifting, simply because I don't think a lot of people realize that you do not have to shift over the same color. It just has to be over the same card name. So we're going to go over some of that stuff today. And I made a super nice visual for you guys today that all of us are going to be using as reference. So we're just kind of going to kick it off and go through some of the basic mechanics. I will also be providing this visual, a link to this visual in the description below if you guys want to use it for a reference. And I also created a cheat sheet that will be also linked below for you guys to use as a reference. So we're just going to kind of go through and talk about some of, I can zoom in actually, so it's a little bit easier to see. Is that, oh, my computer lagged. Huh? Is that better? Can you guys read that?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Let me make it bigger. Wow.
There you
Two
go.
things at a time. My computer is lagging. Okay, I'm editing that out. Okay. So, okay, so the first two things we're gonna go over are bodyguard and challenger. And Ash is going to give us a little bodyguard spiel.
Okay. I use Bodyguard. Bodyguard is when you play the card, you can play the card exerted, and the opposing team has to attack that card before they can challenge your other characters. However, Bodyguard does not protect you from actions and songs attacking or, well, putting damage on your other characters.
Imagine if it did. That'd be so nice.
That would
We're not
be
gonna
Oh,
Maybe they'll come out with
Okay.
that mechanic later on. I don't know. We'll see. So do you have she said that when you play the character, you can play it exerted. I think one thing to specify with that, I almost said I almost said specify with that specifically, but it's okay. One thing to specify with that is that you don't have to play the character exerted for one. You can just play it straight up like it's a regular character you're just playing. And for two, it is the exception to not being able to exert your card until the ink is dry. So bodyguards can come in wet like you just played them, and they can become exerted. That's a little weird and kind of complicated. So if you want clarification on that, just message us or comment below, and we can give you a little bit more information on that. But along with cards just having bodyguard, I actually should have put this example up here, but I didn't. Fortisphere can give a card bodyguard that doesn't normally have it. It is a 1-drop item. I don't remember what set it's from. I think it's 5. I think it's no, it's 4. It's 3 or 4. Fortisphere. I think it's 3 or 4. I can't remember exactly though, but it says when you play this card, draw a card. And when you banish this card, you can banish this card to give one of your characters bodyguard. So a lot of decks, like Blue Steel more specifically, play that card, and then you can give like Tamatoa bodyguard with her 5/8 stat line, and it's insane.
Yeah.
So yeah. Another thing that goes, actually, it's kind of funny that I did it this way, but Challenger actually plays really well into Bodyguard. Especially, we talked about set 1 a little bit in our first video, and how I said that Simba was my favorite Bodyguard. And Captain Hook under this Challenger tab was Simba's biggest op in set 1. Because you can't see his stat line, but Captain Hook's stat line is a 1/2. But his effect is that he gains Challenger +2 on his turn. You can't see Simba's stat line, but Simba's stat line is 2/3. So a lot of decks would play Captain Hook. Anybody that played Steel generally played Captain Hook to get rid of the Simba. And along with kind of the Fortisphere aspect of it, we have Merlin Crab, which is Courtney's favorite card. And Merlin Crab says, like a lot of the Merlin Min package, when this character comes into play and leaves play, one of your characters gains Challenger +3. So like Fortisphere, there are cards that also give Challenger to. There's actually a lot of purple cards that give Challenger like +2 or 3.
Hey, I have something real quick. So it actually says chosen character gains Challenger +3. So you could use that and then give it to the opposing character and use, what's the one that banishes the 5 attack?
Oh,
World's Greatest
Criminal.
Criminal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I think that's like the really nice thing too about Crab specifically, because I think Queen says, because Queen just boosts. Oh no, Queen does not.
Your own, like, it gives +4 to something of your own, and then
No, it's not your own. It's chosen, because I've had people quest with their Queen boost my character, because you can boost and lower whatever character you want,
Yeah.
or it doesn't matter, it's chosen character, and then also use World's Greatest Criminal to get rid of the character. It's crazy. The things that you can do in this game are nuts. And like it just keeps getting better with each set. But those are 2 super basic and super popular cards that get played, I think, or abilities that are played in cards pretty significantly.
Mhm.
The next 2, My computer's lagging again. The next two that we have are evasive and reckless, which Courtney's actually going to talk about.
Yes. Evasive in the game, it's similar to what Ashton said with the bodyguards. It doesn't protect you against actions, but if you're to be challenged, your opposing character has to have evasive as well in order to be able to challenge those characters. And so I play Elsa currently in my purple steel deck, and it is great with Crab to take out Genie. So you're opposing genies. And
Elsa
I
is
played
Genie's
Diablo
biggest
as
op right now.
do what?
Elsa and Crab are Genie's biggest op right now.
For real.
Mhm.
I've never had it set up where a lot of people play Genie on 4 and then Elsa on 5, and it's like perfect to take out the opposing Genie, but
Yeah.
I had it set up for me, so I guess maybe that's why Crab is my favorite, because otherwise it wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's true.
I just don't get lucky that way. And then with Reckless, I've played Lyle before. So Lyle specifically, when you play that character, you can give a chosen opposing character Reckless. And Reckless is where that character cannot quest and they must challenge if able.
So the go around to reckless though is that they don't have to challenge if they sing.
Yes.
Yes,
That's actually a question that's come up a lot. In the past like 3 months, I think for me. Is it 3 months? When was the CCS? In December?
yeah.
Yeah, like just a month.
So yeah, so like 3 months, because in November, from November to the end of December, I probably had like 4 people. They would like people were still playing Lyle. It was crazy. But I probably had like
Lyle's
4
so
people.
good.
Honestly, I think he's really good too, but the problem is he's uninkable, and like the uninkable count and like green decks is already like, because most of them are playing Diablo, so it's already like really high. But a lot of people don't realize that you can give a character like your opponent can give my character, or my opponent can give me reckless, one of my characters reckless, and if I have a song in my hand, it doesn't matter if you gave it reckless or not, because once it's exerted, it doesn't matter anymore, and it says it must challenge. So more specifically, we'll look at Felicia. This character can't quest and must challenge each turn if able. So if it doesn't say that it can't sing, it only says that it can't quest. And that's like a question that's come up a lot, which I think is insane. But a lot of it just comes down to, I think, like understanding like the mechanics of the game and reading your cards. We're not going to be Yu-Gi-Oh players. We're going to read our cards, because that's like a very Yu-Gi-Oh player thing. But there's a lot of, I think Reckless is like green, or I'm sorry, emerald ruby specific ability. I don't think any other.
I'll look it up.
I actually don't think any other colors have reckless at all. And like green has like really like leaned into the reckless, and like, oh, I'm gonna give a character reckless, especially with that bell package that came out a couple sets ago. Where it's like, if your character challenges into this bell, they have to discard their entire hand or something. Like, it's crazy. But I think I always thought this Lao was really good. I just like I've never been like a green player. I was like beaten down by green in set 1 with this Cusco. So it just, never been my favorite color. I've always been like an amber steel, blue, amber steel, sapphire steel player for sure. Okay, we'll scoot down here. Look, guys, it's me. All right, and then now we have, I know I kind of put these like really far apart, so we're gonna stick to one on the screen for a second. So now we have resist and Ash.
That's me. I actually use Calhoun in my current deck. And so resist means that any damage dealt to the character is reduced by that much. So for Calhoun, it's reduced by 1. There's other ones, I think it's Cinderella is reduced by 2.
2, yeah.
So this goes for if they're being challenged, it's reduced by 1. And if you're using like an action to deal damage, it's reduced by 1. If multiple characters challenge the same character every time the opposing character challenges, it's reduced by 1. And then the only other thing is when you move damage to this character, it is not reduced.
Because it is not dealing damage, it's moving damage. This is another thing where like reading the card, like specifically what the ability says is like super important. I don't know why, but when resist first came out, I struggled with it a lot. I just like didn't understand.
I
like
struggled a
didn't.
lot with the difference, like you're saying, of moving
Yeah.
it versus dealing it, because I was
Yeah.
like, that's the same thing, but it's
Yeah.
not.
I agree.
Yeah.
I argued.
Same.
It's like, yeah, I think that's like another thing that like really, I don't know, like where you need like more specifics. And I love that Lorcana is like Ravensburger and like Disney Lorcana, the franchise is like coming out with like more information on that stuff. And they actually, I will reference this again. I know I've referenced it a bunch in the videos 1 and 2, but the Disney Lorcana webpage, which will be linked in every video below, is an amazing resource, has tons of like ruling answers.
The app is the same way. If
Yeah.
you've ever used it, there was an instance where Let the Storm Rage On, there was like a huge debate over if you had to actually deal the damage to draw the card, and it's in the app has specific rulings for cards like that, and it's so convenient. So I use the app a lot. I know a lot of people hate on the app, but I really like it a lot.
The app is great. The website's great. Like they've really kind of like, the only thing I wish with that app is that they would like make their own like program so we stop using Melee. Like just put it in the app too. Like you already have
Start the petition.
Yeah.
Starting right here.
So other things with resist is that there are cards. I should have put Cogsworth in here too, but I really wanted to put Noi in here, so that's my bad. The Cogsworth that gives all of your other characters resist +1, as long as he's on the board, and he has ward, which we'll go over in a second. And then there's cards like Noi, where it's conditional, and she says while you have an item in play, this character gains resist +1 in ward. Which she was a little monster when I played her in like set 3 or 4. Yeah, no, she was crazy in my blue steel deck. But
it would be nice if she said for each.
Right.
Okay, that would have been broken though. Yeah, that would have been broken though, and they would have eroded her like they did Bucky. Oh man, they would have made her a 3-drop uninkable. But resist, honestly, I think is like one of my favorite mechanics in the game, or abilities in the game so far, because you can really abuse it if you like get like multiple like Cogsworths out, even Cindy's out too, man. Cogsworth plus the big Cindy stout-hearted, and then she's just resist 7 or resist 6. She's not going anywhere unless you Dragonfire or prep. It's great. Or Strength of the Raging Fire with like 700 cards on the field. Next we have Rush. Where Turtle.
Yeah, so as you guys know, Goofy Super Goof is my favorite Rush card. And Rush is characters where Rush can challenge on the turn they're played. So they don't have to be dried yet. You can just go ahead and smack into something that's exerted or a location. And some are conditional, like Goofy Super Goof, where you get 2 lore from challenging someone. But a lot of people just use it to take out locations or big things like Maleficent Dragon helps take care of that. But Rush is just a really good card. Most of the time they're uninkable. I'm not sure why. It kind of sucks, but it's
now
really
he's
good
the best.
to kind of get
now,
ahead.
Like always gonna be the best card. Set 1,
Yeah.
OG, like
Yeah.
inkable 5-drop rush reckless character with a 6/5 stat line. Can't be better than that.
Oh yeah, they tried doing the Hercules one where it was like 7/3 or something like that, but it was uninkable
Yeah,
in 5, and I'm
it's
like, this just isn't as
uninkable.
good. But
Yeah.
they messed up with Maui. They knew it was too good, so
Mhm.
they were just like, gotta fix it. And now like every rush card's uninkable almost.
Mhm.
They gave us Maui, and then like a set or two later, they gave us Zeus, and they were
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, we knew it was overpowered, but it was a set 1 thing."
Yeah.
They gave us Maui and Maleficent Dragon, and then gave us Zeus like 2 or 3 sets later. They were like, "We knew what we did. We were gonna fix it eventually."
Yeah. It's
During
really
set
good to get
one,
ahead.
Go ahead.
during set 1, I hated Maui. I was like, this is so stupid. Like, why would I use a character that can't quest?
I didn't mind Maui. I didn't mind Maui because I played Song, so I just would like song it to death. But I hated Cusco because I could not song it to death. Song it to banish, not death. Sorry, apologies. Song it to banish. But yeah, no, I didn't mind Maui so much. But yeah, Cusco, the bane of my existence. That ward, the no touchy ward is crazy.
Yeah.
So I paired these 2 cards together, partially because they both have rush, but also because this is actually a combo that a lot of people were like trying to proc in most recent sets with the purple or amethyst ruby, where um, Peter Pan gives all cards with evasive rush. So like people were started playing Genie, and then Genie would have rush to take out, I don't know, a small character because it has 4 defense, strength, willpower. I can never remember. I'm really bad about that. But people were trying to get Peter Pan to work really well. There's also Peter Pan Shadow Finder gives your characters with rush evasive. So Peter Pan, not Shadow Finder. The Peter Pan Shadow gives your characters with rush evasive, I believe. And then the Peter Pan Shadow Finder gives your characters with evasive rush. So it's like a flip flop. They're actually for each other and for, I think, the Lost Boys. Because the Lost Boys have like reckless rush, and evasive. So much like every other ability that we've had, there are characters that also will give characters rush and evasive. Shift. Oh, I'm talking about shift. So shift's like pretty simple mechanic. So the first thing that I want to say with shift is that it does not have to be the same color. It just has to be the same name, not the same glimmer. So we talked about glimmers in videos 1 and 2 actually, where glimmers are the different sub names. So, oh, where's my mouse? So when I say sub name, I mean like how Robin Hood says champion of Sherwood and Merlin says intellectual visionary. I cannot remember what the small Robin Hood is right now. But there's a 2-drop steel Robin Hood that's 2/2 steel, and you would just shift this Robin Hood onto that one. So as long as what it says is you may pay for this character specifically 3 ink to play this on top of one of your characters named Robin Hood. So it doesn't have to have the same glimmer name, it just has to have the same main name. One of the big decks that just like took off when set 6 came out was the Tinkerbell deck, because it has we got that new crazy purple Tinkerbell that's so good. In my opinion, it just costs way too much, but there are literally people shifting the purple Tinkerbell on top of the 6-drop steel Tinkerbell that does AoE damage. Area of effect is what AoE means. Area of effect, where it does the 1 damage to everybody. So it doesn't have to be the same glimmer. It just needs to be the same name. And it also doesn't matter if it is a card that is already like a shift card. so in this case Robin Hood, you can shift a Robin Hood champion of Sherwood on top of a Robin Hood of champion of Sherwood, which is also kind of broken because people just shift Tremaine on Tremaine, which is
And then bounce.
and then bounce it, so they have 2 Tremaines back in their hand. But yeah, that's actually like a really nice mechanic. We'll kind of dive in a little deeper in a later video, but you cannot just in time to shift, but you can 0 to hero to shift. So that's a little sneak peek because we're going to talk about that a little bit more. That's like a little bit more of a complicated game mechanic that it was a little hard for some people to get. But it's actually pretty easy once you like have it dumbed down and explained to you, like I had to have it dumbed down and explained to me. But the next thing we're going to talk about is singers, which we talked about me and DJ talked heavily about in video 1, best color amber with all the singers and all of the princesses.
Okay.
It is. It's the best. Ash.
Now my rush card. That's cool.
I've been trying to make princesses work forever since the
Same.
first set.
Same. Princesses is hard. I do like that they all have not all. I say all, but there's literally an Ariel from set 1 that's like can't sing anything
Cannot
at
sing.
all. Yeah, literally. It's this Ariel that has feet. More specifically, it's actually the Ariel that has feet. But the singing mechanic is basic card. So Let the Storm Rage On, super popular damage card that also allows you to draw. It is a 3-cost song that can be sang as long as the character meets the requirement of the 3 cost. So popularly paired with this song is Always Cindy. And Cindy was a game changer in set 2. Because she counts as a singer 3. So you turn 1 ink, play Cindy, turn 2, you are banishing their first character 9 times out of 10 if you have a strength in your hand or a Let the Storm Rage On in your hand, because you're playing it or you're singing it with the Cindy. And then you have other singers like Ariel, that she will hopefully, with your fingers crossed, find you a song when you search the top 4 cards of your deck. Or she will whiff and you'll put 4 characters to the bottom. It's just kind of a catch-22 there, I guess. But she is a singer 5 as a 3-drop. We also have, I think it was in set 5 was when set 4 or 5 when they did the sing together cards. We also got that Cindy that was like a singer 9, and I think she was like a 4-drop or a 5-drop or something like that. And she was inkable, and she quested for 2, which was insane. But her stat line was 1/9, so she just died to Medusa, which made her like not that good. But honestly, the singers are so good. I wish some of them had ward. That would be bad.
Yeah.
But
Or evasive.
okay, but to be fair, I think singers with ward isn't bad because, hear me out, they're singing. So they are
They have to exert.
Yeah, they have to exert. Like, I just like want my Ariel to stop getting brawled on turn 4. It's so demoralizing. But yeah, I guess if you played Amber
Gaston.
Sapphire heroes, because all the princesses are also heroes. You could play the Alice and just give it ward so it doesn't get banished with a brawl. But you know, that's neither here nor there. Oh geez, Bulba scared me. Next we have support. This is such an underrated ability. And I've tried so very, 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 very hard to make it work without.
I feel like it just takes too much effort to make it.
Yeah.
And so I've never even tried, to be completely honest.
I have, because I overcook everything. I tried. I wanted to build an Alice deck, the legendary Alice that says all of your cards gain support, whether they have it or not. And So, okay, let me explain what support is first. So, support, when you quest with a character, you are going to add your willpower. Is it willpower or is it strength? Because, like,
Strength.
okay, cool. Thanks. I'm glad somebody finally corrected me. But you'll add your strength to one of your, okay, it doesn't have to be to another chosen character strength. So, this is another instance where we talked about, what was it?
World's Greatest Criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where we talked about with World's Greatest Criminal, where you can like bump up your opponent's character and like banish it with World's Greatest Criminal. But in the situation with Alice, you want to get her to 10 strength so that she can quest for 5. So it's kind of like Belle in that scenario. It's actually exactly the same, except for you have to like get her to 10 every time, which kind of sucks.
Mhm.
But it can be pretty good. It's I just don't like that, like, a lot of the support characters, with the exception of these two, I think specifically, are all like 1 and 2 strengths. So it's like it just feels bad
Yeah.
to like, oh yeah, I'm gonna quest with this one lore character to give my, other character 1 strength. So
Yeah.
support is honestly been like super underwhelming. I want it to be so much better though. In reality, though, I think if you get an Alice out, it already gives everything support. So like you don't have to play like support.
Yeah.
You can
What's
just
her
play red
stat
blue.
line though?
It what?
What's her stat line though?
Real bad. And I don't think she has ward.
No, I don't think she does.
Does she? Hold on, I want to look.
She's 1-4.
Oh.
No ward.
No ward? Oh, yeah, see, no, not good.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Matt just played this Wendy against me yesterday.
Oh yeah,
He
in
quested
his
with Wendy.
his
Yeah,
Amber Sapphire.
Yeah, he quested with Wendy, gave the 3 to Daisy Duck. So Daisy was now a 4/4 and then attacked my Daisy.
Okay, that's kind of
Nice.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this Wendy Darling is actually a really popular Wendy Darling in a lot of ward decks. Because she's a 3/1 stat line, but she has ward, so like you're not banishing her with like damage spells. So you have to crash into her, but she's like doing damage to you too, which is like really good. I actually, when I built my ward deck, I played her, and I gave a lot of things support, and I banished a lot of opposing characters because she's a G for sure. I like Wendy. All right. Oh, ward. Oh, that's actually really funny. Cause I love Zipper, and everybody clowned on me really hard when I played Zipper in my item deck. But he's a real good card because he gives resist for every card that goes into your inkwell. So if you're playing like actual blue something, you can like give your Maui like resist 4 and swing it into like Medusa and take no damage, which is kind of cool. Anyways,
Mhm.
sorry. I digress. So the next thing we're going to talk about is ward. Courtney, was
Me?
ward you? Yeah. Oh no,
Oh,
the ward was Heaven. Sorry, my bad.
Heaven. Yes.
I saw green and assumed it was Courtney.
I'm
It's all two places.
not
Is
even
Emerald
playing right
Amethyst.
now.
yeah, I was like, I tried out a ward evasive deck at Champions this past Saturday, and it tanked, but
You beat
It's
Corey.
that was only because he only had 7-drop Hades in his hand.
That's
3 of
true.
them. I was like, oh. But yeah. So ward is the character cannot be targeted by opponent's ability. So in the case with Corey, he was doing the 7-drop Hades Infernal Schemer. And it says, when you play this character, you may put chosen opposing character into their player's inkwell face down. And you can't choose if it's ward. And so he had 3 of those in his hand, so he couldn't do anything. So like it would be the same thing with Madame Medusa, the boss, when it says when you play this character, banish chosen opposing character. So if it says chosen anywhere in there, you can't, and it has the opponent's card has ward, you can't choose it. But then there's like exceptions, like Lady Tremaine, where it says when you play this character, each opponent chooses and banishes their own character. So your opponent's choosing, so it can bypass the ward on there. Same thing with the prep; it'll just wipe your whole board. Ward doesn't matter at that point.
Anything that does AoE damage or AoE like board wipe is gonna bypass the ward.
Mm-hmm.
So grab your swords, tink.
Grab your swords, tank, prep, all bypass ward. They actually, in more recent sets, they came out with Unfortunate Scenario, which is your character chooses and does 4 damage to their own character. So that bypasses ward. And then you have Triton's Decree, does the same thing, but 2 damage. You have King Undisputed, which is Tremaine in an action. So, yeah, they've finally started to come out with more cards that bypass ward, because in set 1 ward was I think I've said this already, very demoralizing. This Cusco made me very sad, because also, like, why is it a 2/4? Like, why is it a 4 willpower? I don't like it back then.
He's the emperor, he's got to have.
That's true, I'll give it to him. But this was the basics of specifically the card abilities. We wanted to give you guys a breakdown. If you have any further questions on specifically card abilities, just drop a comment below, or you can join the Discord and send us a message in there. I'm pretty sure all 4 of us are in there, and all of Team Ohana is in there, so we can give you guys a little bit of clarification if something was not clear. And then the last thing we're going to go over, I'm going to pull it up for you guys just so it's not confusing where we're getting this from. I will have this is part of the cheat sheet, so I will have this available in a link below this video, in the description. So some basic game terminology. So we talked a little bit about when you're card and or ink doesn't matter. I don't know why it says ink is wet. It should be card is wet. When your ink is dry, or when your card is dry, or when your card is wet. So characters that have bodyguard and rush don't have to be dry to be exerted. Rush characters can come into play, and the turn you play them, they can challenge, so they will be exerted. And technically, those cards are still considered like wet, or the ink is drying. And then you have cards like Cinderella, Ariel, Calhoun, and Captain Hook that we kind of reference, that in order for them to use the ability of use the ability of like their Challenger +2 or their Singer ability, or resist when challenging another character, they have to be dry. So they have to be played. You pass the turn to your opponent. When the turn comes back to you, anything you had played on your previous turn is considered dry. The ink has dried on those cards. So that's kind of these 2 sections right here on the cards being the ink still drying, or the ink being dry. Exerted and ready are pretty simple. A lot of people, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but when you're playing in like a tournament, people will go ready, set, go. Have you guys heard people say that? That's how that's how like the sequence is meant to go when you start your turn. So you ready your characters, so you take them from the 90-degree exerted position to the upright position, and then you're supposed to set, which is do any beginning of turn actions or effects. So gaining lore from your locations, Lilo,
Flynn Rider,
transport,
Drawing for beast.
Drawing for beast, yeah. So all of those effects are in like technically meant to be the set stage, and then go is when you draw. I did not realize this, and it actually became a topic of conversation, I think, in Vegas or Seattle. I think during Vegas or like after Vegas, into Seattle, because there were some judge calls where, and I'm not saying this judge is wrong, I'm not saying this judge is right, this was just like a topic of conversation where a judge, I think, did not allow the player to gain their lore off of their location because they did stuff, and then they were like, oh, like they literally were like playing their turn. They were like, oh, I forgot to gain my lore, because technically it's meant to be in the set stage of the ready, set, go. So it is very important to gain your lore, bring your Lilo back, add your lore from your Flynn Rider, do all of that stuff during the set stage before you draw your card, because some opponents can be kind of
Particular.
Technical. I'll
yeah.
go with it.
We'll go with particular. We'll go with particular on that. So then once your characters are in the exerted stage, they can no longer quest or challenge if they did one of them before. There are exceptions to this. A specific example is Raya from this previous set 6, Azurite Sea. Raya says when a card is put into your inkwell, you may ready an exerted character. When a character comes out of exertion due to a card's effect, generally there is the stipulation that they cannot quest again. There are exceptions to that rule. If you want to know what they are, you can look them up, or you can ask me and I will absolutely find them, because I know exactly what cards they are. I just can't like think of it off the top of my head right now.
The green.
Simba Pride Protectors one.
See, this is why I have them here.
I can't remember what's that.
There's some amber cards that say you can ready like your characters, but they can't challenge or quest, which means generally it's a singer. Raya says the characters can't quest, which means they're meant to challenge. And then
LeFou.
Savan.
It just came out. You came back. Ready
Yeah.
for
Oh, yeah.
absolutely no stipulations. So you can quest, you can challenge, you can sing, you can do whatever you want with it. A lot of people are questing again. The green-blue deck goes crazy if they get the Mufasa and the you came back in their hand. It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like that's a pretty like basic rundown for exerting and readying. When a character is ready, it can quest, challenge, or sing. They can do anything. Discarding and banishing is not confusing, but they are two different things. And it is a conversation like every card game I've ever played, because banishing is a card that is already in play is being banished to the graveyard. I say graveyard, I think it's just the banish pile in Lorcana, but I played Yu-Gi-Oh before and it was called the graveyard. So when a card is banished, it's going essentially to the graveyard. When a card is discarded, it is coming from your hand. Or with Robin Hood, Sharpshooter, I think is what he's a 4-drop uninkable ruby card that says look at the top 4 cards of your deck, play an action 6 cost or less, the rest go to banish. Technically, I don't know if it says banish or if it says discard them to the banish. That's actually really important, because there's cards like Prince John that say when your opponent discards a card, draw a card. So being very particular, make sure you're reading your cards, make sure you're reading your opponent's cards to know if a card says to discard or to banish. But generally discarding is a card coming from your hand. Challenging, super simple, attacking one of your characters into one of your opposing characters, or one of the opposing characters, and then questing is exerting your card and gaining the lore. The lore is the little pips on the tan bottom part of the card. Yeah, but that's like pretty much it. It's pretty simple. It's not going to be simple after this video though, because I'm going to make Jose and DJ go into a little bit more complicated things.
There was only one thing that I thought of, and I think you kind of touched on it, but maybe not. So, like talking about rush cards going into the exertion, but they're still technically wet, even though they can challenge. So, an example I thought of is like you play your Maui on turn 5, you can't sing how far I'll go. You can only challenge until you get the next cycle of turn.
Yeah, that's actually a really important clarification, and is also another reason to absolutely read your cards, because when a character has rush, it specifically tells you exactly what that character can do that turn. It says the character can challenge the turn that it's played. And I have actually seen somebody play a Maui and try to sing a song, and I'm like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of it is like, so on kind of the topic of that, people will like call judge on you for doing stuff like that if you don't know. And that's okay, because it's like an honest mistake. But I know it can, I wanted to touch on this a little bit, and I wanted to touch on this with the three of them in the chat with me. Have you guys ever called a judge on an opponent before? Like in a like a tournament setting?
I
I've
had
never
judge
been
called
to a
on me.
tournament. Ooh.
But you've never called judge on somebody?
Mm-mm.
Not for an action. I guess the only time I've ever had to say anything to a judge in Atlanta, my opponent just didn't show up.
Have you ever played somebody and like wanted to call a judge because of like something that they're doing?
Yes.
Did you call but you didn't call the judge?
No.
Okay. So this is like, especially for beginners, people learning to play this game and learning to play any TCG. And this was like a hard pill I had to swallow when I played the Yu-Gi-Oh, because Yu-Gi-Oh players are toxic. Okay, they're really toxic. And it can be very intimidating, but you never want to look back on an experience or look back on a game and be like, I should have called the judge, because I've done it before. Corey's done it before. I'm sure Luca's done it before. Matt, Bruce, all of us. And clearly the three of them. Like, it's not an uncommon thing, but people won't call judge because it's intimidating, or in our case, I was afraid to call a judge because I was a female. I don't know if that's the case for you guys, but it can be very intimidating, and luckily Lorcana is not like a male dominated like TCG. There's a lot of women, and I freaking love that. But in Yu-Gi-Oh is really hard, but I've gone to a judge afterwards and been like, "Oh, so I had this interaction." And it turned out that I was correct, but I just like let it go, because I was like, oh, like I don't know, and I don't want to call a judge over here, and like blah blah blah. It's always better to call the judge, find out for yourself, so you know for the next time, and also so your opponent knows for the next time. A very very specific example of this is, we were at CCS in Atlanta, and Bruce was actually playing a Steel Song player. And his opponent sang a song and then shifted Cindy, and he said, okay, I'm going to attack into your readied character, or I'm going to challenge into your ready character. And Bruce was like, you can't do that. Cindy Stouthearted says, if you played a song this turn, or that's actually a lie, can somebody pull that up and read specifically what it says? Because it's actually like really important on the verbiage, and which is why I reiterated multiple times during this video to read the card, because the way cards are written is very very important.
I got it. Whenever you play a song, this character may challenge ready characters this turn.
Yeah, so it says when you play a song. There is another card, flute. It says if you I think it says like if you played a song this turn or something like that. If you want to look that one up as well, Ash, because like that's a important differential, because Cindy Stouthearted and Ariel Sonic Warrior have the same verbiage. They have to see the song in order to proc their effect. So that means that they have to be on the board. And Bruce's opponent actually was like, oh, well, I've done this so many times at DLCs and nobody's ever told me. It's because his opponents never called judge. So he thought that that was how that effect kind of like, that's just how that interaction happened. And it's not. So I think it's Sleepy Flute.
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. It's an item. It says exert. If you played a song this turn, gain 1 lore.
Yeah. So it says if you played a song this turn. So it doesn't have to see the song, but if you played a song that turn, you can exert it and use its effect. where it says when you play a song. So it has to see that card, and that's just like a really like specific example of why you should always call a judge, because I wonder how many of his opponents like lost their game because they didn't call a judge, because they didn't know, or because they were intimidated, or because of whatever the case may be. It's okay. You're probably never going to see that person again. It's fine. Like if you're embarrassed by it, because like that was like a big thing for me. Like when I was at a YCS for the first time, I called a judge on an opponent, and it was like really awkward because like he was just like looking at me like, why are you calling a judge on me? And then the ruling ended up being in my favor. And I was like, oh, like what if it's like not in my favor? Then I just like wasted our time. It doesn't matter, because if you're unsure, if you're not 100% sure of the ruling, you should always ask a judge. They have the answer. Hopefully Lorcana comes out with a judge program soon. So we like don't have like mix-ups and stuff. But you could also always appeal if you don't like agree with whatever the judge said. But it is like so important that, especially as new players, you do that. Like just ask, call a judge, raise your hand and yell it. It's okay. But that was just like one last thing I wanted to touch on with you guys. I don't think that they have anything else. So I just wanted to say thank you to these lovely ladies for joining me today. It was absolutely great having them on the podcast. And we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, House of Cards in Winston-Salem, specifically Winston-Salem, to House of Cards in North Carolina. But we are very excited for this series. So if you have any suggestions or comments, please drop them below. And we'll see you in our next video. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.